specifically in relation to the legacy of Imam Hussein. I want to explore a very amongst the points that can be extrapolated and how it can be used as a sermon or proof. What Imam Hussein did 1400 years ago in Karbala, the amount of sacrifices he gave, is something no rational mind can comprehend. And it is this aspect of Imam Hussein's stance I want to take this idea, the sensibility of the action of Imam Hussein. We can take some comprehensive lessons on how to forgive not only ourselves, but inshallah forgive others. And bring the Imam's message into our worship, at work, or during our social gatherings. Imam Hussein isn't just limited to the 10 days of Muharram and isn't just limited to the member. There is a very great aspect of Imam Hussein's message that makes it eternal and relevant for all time. A message which is both intellectually stimulating and has been actualized tenfold. So today, in part one of this khutbah, I will cover two main points. Number one, the notion of self-love and self-love and forgive others, and look at how this works. And number two, the notion of freeing oneself and how self-reflection is a type of self-healing. And this will be explored via a meditative slash self-reflective exercise through the lens of Imam Hussein's legacy. As his legacy can help us uncover some beautiful aspects of the human being. And in part two, we will discuss the negative aspect of self-love and the all-consuming hubbud dunya. Salawat. Seems like half of you are sleeping. Let's have a loud one. Asant. So, the basis of today's khutbah is a very beautiful hadith attributed to our fifth Imam, who asks the question, what is religion other than love? And this will underpin of the Juma khutbah today. Because love can take you in one of two ways, disaster or enlightenment. And inshallah, we will explore these two aspects. To begin our journey of self-healing and taking lessons from the legacy of Imam Hussein, we start with the following Quranic verse, which states, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, wa huwa ma'akum aynama kuntum. He is with you wherever you are. We should always have hope in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that you are never alone of self-love, self-healing, loving and forgiving others. Respect, love and honor, humanly, universally recognized values. Three things every human deserves, but three things which we do not always see, especially when interacting with others, perhaps due to not cultivating self-love, self-respect, and self-honor. Therefore, unable to give it to others if we don't have it within us in the first place. In order to respect the feelings of others, a person must first respect their own, but not in a self-centered way. Because if you do not respect yourself or value your feelings or put desire on the truth, if a person is so infatuated and irritated to always chase material gain, to always chase the dunya, and puts this above him and respect, we go into a very dark rabbit hole. And we see this in the Karbala narrative. Because how else was it possible for the army of Umar bin Sa'ad to carry out such heinous and brutal acts? They wanted money, power, fame, and notoriety, which was utterly dominated by greed and infatuation for these things. Looking back, it shows me today they had no self-respect. They had no self-honor. They valued having material possessions and social status not only higher than themselves, but also at the expense of other human beings, which blinded them to savagely behead a 6-month-old baby in Karbala. To not hurt others, firstly, I must not hurt myself. And what I mean by hurt myself is not being totally engrossed with desires, with greed, and with worldly competition. To always try outdoing someone to get that grade in education or to get that promotion, not to use others as a means to get what you want. So the first responsibility you have is towards yourself. Have and self-respect. And this notion of self-respect you have is that you are a human. Your creator is Allah. And the Quran describes in Surah Mu'minun, verse 14, so blessed, tabarakallah, blessed is Allah, ahsanul khaliqeen, the best of creators. And this verse comes at the end of a passage to birth. It praises Allah as the best of creators for His perfect design in the creations. And this is where your honor comes from in the first place, from the Quran. And Allah who does things for a purpose, there is hikmah behind His actions. So you have been created for a purpose, and therefore everything created by the Creator has a purpose. So we must cultivate something within us, but not in a passive, non-real manner. We must have self-love and self-respect, whereby there is no ego from within. There is no meanness. There is no I-ness. When I say self-respect, I mean if your identity, recognizing who you truly are. I am consciousness. I am awareness. I am a soul. Now slowly my inner eye opens. As my inner eye opens, I become love. I become respect. And this becomes so important later on, as I will mention. There's a principle in philosophy which states, فَاقِدَ الشَّيْءِ لَا يُؤْتِيهِ, an empty vessel cannot give. And we will build upon this point later on. From this, you will realize that you are an entity amongst many other entities, all trying to recognize their purpose in life. We see in Karbala the conviction Imam Hussein had regarding his purpose in life. His passion and love for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala caused a harakah, caused a revolution in others joining his camp. Something clicked for the companions that made them think that this is the right thing to do, to join the Imam. And this doesn't come by mere blind following. It comes from reflection and knowing yourself. Once you know who you are and what you stand for, you will recognize the greatness of Aba Abdullah and what he stood for 1400 years ago. And we will begin a short meditative exercise, which we did last year in the Hawza. Before Salah, we did it with Sayyid Fatimi, and I found it really beneficial. So I want to do it today, as many people may not have time to actually do this before prayer in their usual routine. So today, as we have a few minutes together, let's see if we can benefit from the rewards of this forgotten sunnah of self-reflection and contemplation. So to begin, you can either close your eyes or keep them open, but focus on your breathing. Deep breaths in through the nose and out through the mouth. And relax any muscle that you feel is tense right now, or any organ of your body, because now begin to communicate with our hearts. And let every breath you take become more. Every breath, the names of Allah, Rahman, Rahim, or any. Now, with your imagination or any way, whether that is a or even your own feelings, allow your body to float, let it fly. So imagine you are in a space, fly as high as possible and feel the freedom. And in this space that you are floating in, there are no contradictions. There's no right, no wrong, just you. No heaven, no hell, no love, no hate. There is only becoming one with yourself, with your soul, with your heart. And in this space, I want you to choose a spot to stand in and feel a waterfall of light that covers you from head to toe and washes away all your burdens, your negative thoughts and feelings. And now immerse yourself in this beautiful feeling. Allow your imagination to build a stage. You are above it and you see everything. A stage you imagine. And after a few seconds, to invite some people onto the stage you have envisioned. It can be anyone, your grandparents, your parents. You smile and let them stand side of your stage. And then after this, invite yourself or any person that is like a brother or sister to you. You see them and you remember them. You do not have to remember everyone, just anyone your conscious mind sees. Smile and put them on the other side of the stage. Invite any friend you have or have had considered a friend and allow them to be on the stage with a loving smile. And also a friend, regardless of if he has harmed you or not, please invite this person or persons onto your stage. And now invite those who you may have lost, whether it is your neighbor, your children, or your child, or your parents, and let them on your stage with a smile and embrace. And invite anyone who had a negative impact on your life and say to this person or persons, thank you, this was a life lesson for me. Or anybody that has had a positive impact and say, thank you, I learned a lot from you, from the love you gave me, even if the love was for a few moments, a few months, 10 years or 20 years, or a few days even. Invite all of them with a beautiful smile, welcome them and let them on your stage. And now let's dive deep into our past. Allow your imagination and heart to invite different versions of yourself. You as a fresh newborn, and any image you have of you as a baby is correct. See this person, smile to him or her, and let this person onto your stage. Now allow a different version of you onto the stage, whether that is 5 years old, 6 years old, a 10-year-old version of yourself, a teenage version of yourself, a version of you in your 20s, and you right now, the age you are right now.
And look at all the people you have invited from above and greet them. Give them your salam and introduce yourself from the future. And tell all these people on the stage, I forgive you loud and clear for everything you did or didn't do. I forgive you for myself at first and then for yourselves. I forgive you so that my heart can have peace, so I can lessen the burdens I am carrying, so my heart can be full of love and goodwill, so I can grow throughout my life, and in some way or another, I have loved all of you. I love the person who harmed me because this person made me learn more. I loved the person who loved me because his or her love made me see love, made me friendly, opened my heart. And even the person who hated me, I learnt from this person the ugliness of hate and how it can become self consuming and how it can make me spiteful. So forgive all these people. Go to your grandparents and parents again, and then your siblings and friends, and anyone on that stage, and then ask them, do you forgive me too? Would you let me grow in life with love and clear hearts? And because forgiveness is always granted, they will say, we forgive you and we always loved you. And you will say, I forgive you and I always loved you and always will. Hug them if you want, or just say or smile and say thank you for being a part of my life, and allow these people to leave your stage. And while the people are leaving the stage, look at each person, your parents, your siblings, your friends, the person or people that you have lost, whether it was you met them for a few moments of your life or whether you've known them all your life. Look and feel each person. And say one thing, because these are all your people. Say to your people, I forgive you for everything and I love you. And ask them, do you forgive me? And all of them, in a single collective breath, you are imagining their voices, their faces, their ages. They will say, we forgive you and we love you. And as soon as they forgive you and you forgive them, say from the bottom of your heart, regardless of everything, you were all a life lesson for me that maybe I did not realize at that time, but I am realizing now. Let them all now disappear from the stage. Now allow all the versions of you onto the stage, from the child to the adult and all the ages in between till now. And look at your previous versions. Look at each of them lovingly. Say to them, I love you and I accept you as you were. You did what you could during that time, whether it was weakness or fragility, whatever you did was the best at that time. I accept everything that happened in my life because without you, I wouldn't be the same person. I forgive you. Do you forgive me? And without hesitation, these versions will forgive you. And in an instant, they will all tell you that we were always proud of you, everything you have achieved, and all the love and goodness you have cultivated. And they will tell you, look, until now, you have achieved a lot. And tell your previous versions, I saw you before, I see you now, and I may see you again. But until then, I love you. Now let them all off the stage, and now only the current version of you remains. And this should be a lighter version of yourself, a version of yourself which has forgiven others in your past and forgiven your own past mistakes, decluttered your past, briefly began emptying this overflowing vessel which we call the soul, which we call the heart. Recognize and accept all your flaws and begin moving forward with love. Love for oneself in order to love others, with no malice from the past creeping upon you. Be ready to develop and grow, and always be ready to accept challenges. Hug and love yourself, and then you come back to this room, you come back to Al-Mahdi Institute. And this short exercise may have helped you to recognize the ego which may have been hidden from you due to your past, maybe due to the past versions of yourself that you haven't moved on from, that you haven't forgiven, who you always blame. And these burdens that you may not have been aware that you have been carrying. And then this exercise, inshallah, should help you recognize your ego and then to just drop it and let it go. And be aware of the present and that the only thing that exists is the present moment. By being in this state of choiceless awareness, that only the now exists. I can live in the now. I can immediately let go, rid of the ego, and embrace this union with Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim. And of course, for Muslims, the Salah is one of the ways to help facilitate this love and union with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So in this brief journey you have had with your past, these are some feelings that creep up, ideas and emotions that arise especially during Salatul Layl, when you have to ask forgiveness for 40 people. During the Qunut, the people that you have hurt or have hurt you in your past, they keep coming to the forefront of your mind. And sometimes you might ignore it, say, "Oh, I don't want to forgive this person, he's hurt me." Then he'll come up again and again and again. And maybe this is your soul telling you to let go and free yourself, not to carry these shackles and these burdens with you, and to do away with these heavy burdens. And today, with this brief moment of contemplation, it should make you aware that your spiritual growth should not be restricted to moments or to specific months in the calendar, when sometimes it's easier to be spiritual. And the reason why you must begin with yourself, forgive and love yourself, is because an empty vessel cannot give. And we stated that philosophical principle of faqid al-shay la yu'tihi, something which is empty in itself cannot give anything. If you have no love for yourself, you cannot give it to others. And I end this part of the khutbah with a beautiful poem from Allama Tabatabai on the love and beauty of Imam Hussein. He says, Guft an Shah Shahidan ke bala shud suyam, bahamin gafile am rah fana mi puyam. He says, the king of martyrs, Imam Hussein says, great afflictions are heading towards me. Bahamin gafile am rah fana mi puyam. With this caravan, I am on the path of fana. I am heading towards self-annihilation in the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I believe this can only happen when you are at one with yourself and have no burdens slowing you down to also ascend that eternal caravan of Imam Hussein. And we end with part one of a khutbah with a dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to allow us to reflect on this aspect of love, to allow us to forgive others, to allow us to forgive ourselves, to allow us to learn from these messages from the Prophet and the Ahlul Bayt. Please can we recite Al-Fatiha for all our marhumeen and especially those who have no one to pray for them. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Malik yawmiddin. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So, in part one, we should have hopefully lightened our souls through the self reflection exercise we did, coupled with the hadith from the fifth Imam and the messages we can extrapolate from Karbala. Insha'Allah, our hearts have forgiven people. Whether you can actually go and ask forgiveness from those people you have imagined on your stage is another thing. At least, at the very least, you have forgiven them in your hearts, even if it may be difficult for whatever reason to talk to such person or persons who may have hurt you or you may have hurt them. At least, at least you have forgiven them in your own hearts. And inshallah, they might have already forgiven you in theirs. But the next step is putting all this into practice. For now, in part two, we will speak about the negative aspect of loving oneself. And we briefly mentioned some aspects of it in part one. With Imam Bakr al-Islam's hadith, we saw the positive aspect of love when the Imam asked the question, what is religion other than love? Love of Allah, His Prophet, the Quran, and so on. So we see the central focus love has in this religion. But what about the other aspect? Hubb ad-dunya, love of the worldly life. The Quran tells us in Surah A'la, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Bal tu'thiruna al-hayat ad-dunya wal-akhiratu khayrun wa abqa. Rather, you prefer hayat ad-dunya, the worldly life. Wal-akhiratu, the akhirah, the next life, khayrun is better, wa abqa, and is eternal. We see in history those who sold themselves to this world. They sold their religion, their morals for instant gratification. For them, the price of Imam Hussein's head was X amount of gold coins, or the praise of their peers, or the praise of their master Yazid. Such love is destructive. Again, I ask the same question as I have done previously. Do we also have the same love of the dunya? And this is a personal question to ask yourself. Does the love of wealth, social status, the desire to be known as XYZ cloud my judgment, whereby I would hurt people, I would use people as stepping stones to get to my end goal, where I would violate haqqun nas, the rights of the people, where I would violate the laws of Sharia to get what I want. Today, we see those who have allowed hubbud dunya into their hearts, who have been deceived so much so that nothing has been changed from the previous wars. Still, white phosphorus is used. Still, Shias are being massacred in Parachinar, in Kashmir, in Afghanistan. Still, racism exists. Still, babies are being killed, beheaded. Children and women are being imprisoned and abused. And men are being tortured. And there is no point blaming society. Why? Because you and I are as much part of the society as the next person or the people in power. And what have we done? I mentioned this a few Juma khutbahs ago. And what have we done on a micro level to fix the situation, to combat oppression? Are we oppressing people at home, at work? If so, then how are we any different from those causing oppression on a macro scale, on a global scale? Be the change you want to see in the world. Again, it starts with yourself. With part two, I will end on an amazing hadith which has been attributed to our sixth Imam. And this is a hadith that Syed Fatimi showed me a few years ago. The Imam states to his followers to be ornaments of beauty for us and not ornaments of shame or regret. So this of fixing society and fixing yourself and all these bright ideas we have, do not let this just be an intellectual endeavor, but do something actually. So I say to myself, Wajee, do not just talk the talk, actually implement these teachings. Wajee, do not blame others while having the same ugly characteristics. Recognize the self to recognize others until the internal mirror is so polished that there is no other. And inshallah, we enter the realm of non-duality. We end with the dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that Allah makes us an ummah that takes action and does not sit back. I pray that Allah makes us an ummah that works to protect the honor of others and not forsake it. I pray that Allah does not burden us with a trial which we cannot bear, but strengthens us of those who enjoin the good and forbid the evil. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي وللمؤمنين والمؤمنات. Just a caveat, anything good that was said is from God and His Messenger. Anything wrong or incorrect, God and His Messenger are free from. وآخر دعواهم أن الحمد لله رب العالمين. صلوات.